Morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to WOR PC Tier 2 action. My name is Max Ring. I'll be your usual commentator in the box for the rest of the season, who I should be joining with Corey. But as you can see, it's not Corey with me this evening. He unfortunately is not feeling well. We wish Corey the best. But I am alongside the good old Joseph Black. How are you, Joseph, on this Monday evening?
I'm very good. I was about to do a very bad impression of Corey. I'm sure it will come out later in the broadcast. But yeah, I'm very good. Very excited to get going. Another season and, another visit to the Principality. Of course, we didn't have it last year. But the Monaco Grand Prix is ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. And we have 16 drivers ready to take to the street circuit.
Yes, we certainly do. We are at the Principality for this evening. Drivers just about to get underway for qualifying, but before that, we'll take you through the standings before this evening's action. So let's head over to the standings now, where we see Luca Rapassa on 86 points. He's 45 ahead of Cameron Dowds. Ryan Modler is in third with 37 points. Kokeni is fourth with 30. Basler in fifth. Gabor Santos in sixth. Wojtek Steg seventh. Lewis Blore in 8th, Leo Lund 9th, and then Jay Esty in 10th. They are your top 10 in the standings, but it's a big lead for Rapassa here already, Joseph, finishing lower, no lower than second all season long, 2 second places and 2 wins. It's surely at this stage, even though we're only halfway through the season, really he's title to lose.
It very much is, especially with the gap that he's got to Cameron Dowds. I mean, 45 points is a huge disadvantage for Dowds to be at, and Luca Rapassa 86 points ahead of everybody else in the field. 45 ahead of everyone else in the field, but 86 points is far and away more than anybody else has, and he is in a great position. Don't count out, though, a number of drivers who could still find their way back in, as we are not quite halfway through the season just yet.
No, we certainly are not. We, of course, 12 rounds this season, but the drivers are already into qualifying. So let's now head trackside for what should be a very interesting qualifying at the Principality and at a circuit where qualifying means the most importance. So here we are then, trackside on the circuit. Joseph, as I just mentioned, this circuit, it's the most important to get qualifying right. Just how much pressure is on the drivers?
Oh, there's so much pressure on these drivers at the moment because they know that one lap could make or break their evening, and one lap could change the course of their campaign so far. If, for example, you take someone like Cameron Dowds, if he takes that victory today, then he will be taking all of those points home and closing that gap to Luca Rapassa. On the flip side, though, if Luca has a bad qualifying, if he ends up outside of the points, if he ends up in like 15th or 16th place, then he could really be struggling as we head into the race, because it's very difficult to pass, and that could be the start of the end for Luca Rapassa's championship battle. He is going to head around the final couple of corners and start off his first lap around the Monaco City Street circuit, and we have a few drivers in the final couple of corners causing yellow flags as they just try and get out of each other's way. Wojtek Steg and Steven Vaso are not going to be competing in this qualifying session. They'll be starting 15th and 16th unless anybody isn't able to set a lap time. Out of the way goes one of the drivers as Luca Rapassa heads down the hill towards Casino, and he is already on the limit despite this being his first push lap, and he's slid it out of the first sector. But an 18-1 in that first sector is not too bad of a lap time, but that is really going to put pay to it, sliding into the hairpin. But he might not have actually lost that much time. You have to go incredibly slow through there, and that might be the new meta as he heads under the tunnel.
Yes, it certainly could be. So for Rapassa, now heading into the Nouvelle chicane. Let's see what he can do. Nicely done through there. Now heading into to back the left-hander just before the swim push came. Middle sector split of 50.5 for Luca Rapassa as we're now exiting into Le Rascasse. Late on the breakthrough there, locking the front right, lucky to avoid the wall there, and then through Anthony Knows. Nicely done. What a line through there, getting as close to the wall as he possibly dared. Rapassa, the championship leader, he sets a 1 minute 8.178. That is the benchmark for everybody to beat, and Cameron Dowds only goes 300th shy.
Yeah, not too far off for Cameron Dowds, not too far off for Andre Molnar as well. But Campbell Adams at 126, that is far off. And I'd imagine that is just his banker lap. And, well, he invalidates in that first corner. So for Campbell Adams, he's struggling. And for Tudor Pressacan, he throws himself into the barrier, coming out of the tunnel. And that is Tudor Pressacan's qualifying done before it can even begin.
It certainly is, and we cut on board to him at the right time indeed. Just as he was heading into the Nouvelle Chicane, he just clobbered the wall on the left-hand side. It's the rookie error. It's the mistake you can always make around this circuit. And unfortunately for Tudor, he doesn't even get a lap time on the board, and he's already out of qualifying. So we have 3 drivers we know starting at the back of the grid. What makes this race interesting as well is it will be a 2-stop. So that certainly could throw also some strategy into the frame as well. Lucas Baisner is currently heading through Portier and now down under the tunnel. Of course, we're here at Monaco in midnight. It's a beautiful circuit here in the streets under the lights as we now head late on the brakes. Try not to do the same as Tudor, and Baisner gives the wall plenty of room to make sure he doesn't make that same error. But this circuit, even though it's quite technical and there's a lot of walls, it's still quite easy to invalidate round here, Joseph.
Very much is, and Keedan Lutt has just learnt that, as I think he was scared of doing exactly what Tudor Pressacan did and hitting the wall, and he's actually invalidated in that same corner, which is unfortunate for him. Lucas Baisner has not fallen the same fate, and he comes up to the line with the slowest competitive lap time so far, a 108.911, 9/10 off of Luca Rapassa's time at the very top of the field, so not a great start. Valentino Labella has also backed out of his lap as he lets Daniel Gottschalk go. He's used all of his ERS, so he won't have much left down the main straight. Will the McLaren, and Daniel Gottschalk, the TF10 man, will be the next driver to set a valid lap time out of the final corner. He comes trying to use what little he has left, and Daniel Gottschalk up to the line with 109.110, so he's got a lot to improve on. Ryan Grob then next up to the line, 109.530, so lap time somehow going up.
Yes, Ryan Grob did actually say that he was about 2 seconds off the pace when he was saying in the Discord chat just beforehand, and so far he's not 2 seconds off the pace. It's a 9.5. He's about 1.5 seconds off the pace though, so still not the greatest for Ryan. But of course, as long as he can finish around a circuit like Monaco, you certainly could still score at least a point overall. Keedan Luck be going for another lap. No, he's invalidated once again, so he's just going to have to come into pit lane. Expect the rest of the drivers out in a few moments' time. Campbell Adams, I think, actually did another run on the same set of tyres and did improve with a 1 minute 8.361. So it shows maybe tyre wearing qualifying isn't everything here, Joseph, and maybe 2 out laps, or even if you invalidate a lap, you won't be hurt too much overall on pace.
No, you wouldn't be, and it's a very interesting one to debate at this point in time, because you're just going to need to try and, well, of course, try and hook it up in this, but with those 2 stops, it is less likely that bad qualifying is going to cost you significantly. Campbell Adams trying to head into the pit lane now. A lot of the drivers in the 108.2, 108.3 region, 3 in the 108.3 regions, 2 of which being Alpines and the other one being Gabor Shontos. A lot of drivers are going to have to get their campaigns this evening underway. Daniel Gottschalk, Ryan Grob, Lucas Baisner, JST, I'd say, haven't set representative lap times. Keedan Lutt and Valentino Labella have not set any lap times at all. And is going to be Keedan Lutt, I believe, out of the pit lane and heading out for his second run. Pretty early, in fact. And, yeah, we'll see what Keedan's able to do.
Yes, we certainly shall. So Keedan Lutt, of course, invalidated 3 of his of the last attempts that he did on the same set of tyres, and he's going to be the first one out here on to the second runs of this qualifying session. We're about to hit halfway in the session. I'm surprised no one else has really joined him at this stage here, Joseph. Of course, I mean, I think these drivers could be going for 2 runs potentially, because of course we do have that 2-stop as I mentioned, so potentially tyre strategy playing a big part, and qualifying is the perfect time to use that, potentially saving that set of softs for the race, giving you a bit more freedom and a bit more chance to express yourself with those strategic options.
Yeah, it's it's going to be interesting, and I think this second round could be a case of them trying to be using up those tyres and just seeing what they're going to be able to do. Keaton Lutt will be the first one out on an out lap. John Marquardt, Ryan Modler, JST, Lucas Beisner and Valentino Labella have all gone again. And I think for Lutt and Labella, it's going to be a little bit more interesting as they head around the final, or as Lutt heads around the final couple of corners. They probably had to use brand new tyres just to get a lap time on the board, and as we know, a banker is very important. His last lap time was an invalid 108.6, which would have put him in 8th place, and Keaton Lutt is trying to go all over again as the FVR driver in this circuit. So we saw Luca Rapassa into 108.1s. He set an 18.1 in that first sector. Keaton Lutt also sets an 18.1, and it's a quicker 18.1 than the Red Bull was able to do. So Keaton Lutt could be on for pole position here, or provisionally, as everybody goes through for their second runs, because the track has gotten better. There's not much track to use, so the track that you have used will just get better and better and better, and Keaton Lutt is facing that right now as he heads through that second sector, trying to use pretty much everything, avoiding that wall and avoiding the invalidation that he did before once again. And he's going to head through that second sector. Is it a good time? It's going to be a 50.6. That is a very good time, and we could be seeing pole position here. Out of the way go those two drivers that he's just moved past, and Keaton Lutt around the final corner. Then he's not going to invalidate here, and he's going to come up to the line for his first representative lap time of the evening. It's going to be 108.4, so lost a bit of time in that final sector, but that does promise.
That certainly does. So there is still time in that lap, as we know, but with this track getting quicker, the question is, how will the others fare? Rapassa is just heading through the Lowe's hairpin and heading down through Lower Mirabeau and into Portier now. And Cameron Dowds is retired from the session. What's happened to him? It seemed like at the top of the hill at Massenet. So if we quickly go on board, oh no, unfortunately Keaton Lutt has passed the incident, and so is Daniel Gottschalk as well. So I think potentially at the top of the hill, Cameron Dowds, one of the championship protagonists at this early stage of the season, of course the man sitting second in the standings behind Rapassa, has unfortunately come to blows with the walls, and Luca Rapassa is up by just under a tenth and a half, but invalidates at the second part of the swimming pool chicane.
Yeah, and that's going to put him on the back foot as John Marquardt moves up to third place. And Andre Molnar is not going to improve, nor is Campbell Adams, who invalidated as well. I think all of these drivers have messed up these second runs, and indeed they have. All on their in-laps. Ryan Modler invalidated a 108.2 that would have put him in third place. Daniel Gottschalk, final couple of corners for the McLaren, and hoping that he's going to go up ahead of Keaton Lutt, his teammate, out of the final corner. Then it's going to be a 1 minute 08.450. It's not going to be any better than his teammate. It's going to be about the same, and that's going to be unfortunate then at this point in the session. But well, there's going to be a little bit of improvement. Valentino Labella, who went out on his first run, and he has gone on his second run now. Just seeing what he's going to be able to do. His first run was invalid. His second run has just invalidated as he got scared of the wall, and he has just invalidated. The Haas driver will not improve, and so the 13 and now 12 drivers who can set lap times will go once again. Cameron Dowds crashing at the top of the hill. That is going to be very unfortunate for the Mercedes, and he's going to peak at being on the front row.
Yeah, for Dowds, he's just got to hope everybody behind him keeps making these mistakes. Disaster for the young Scots before the race even gets underway. So he needs to hope the likes of Molnar, Marquardt aren't able to find that 10th of a second they'll duly need to jump him if he wants any chance of staying on that front row of the grid and a fighting chance for this race victory. Gabor now goes to the top of the times. We say about drivers improving. It's Gabor who now goes to the top at 1 minute 8.128. 500ths clear of Luca Rapassa, who's actually still circulating on the road. I don't think he improved on that previous attempt, but might be still pushing for it. He is. He's up by a tenth and a half in that first sector. So it does, like we mentioned with Campbell Adams, it does seem doing multiple laps on the same set of tyres doesn't really affect your pace too much at all. Of course, Monaco, a slow speed circuit at the best of times. It certainly can help with that tyre wear. But as we now head into the Nouvelle chicane, braking just after the 100-metre ball, get the car turned in. Will Rapasa invalidate here? No, he will not. His hotspot seems to be that second part of the swimming pool chicane. Let's have a look at the middle. Sector split, a big slide at to back. That's going to hemorrhage him time all the way through swimming pool and now into the Raskas. Are we going to see him dive into pit lane or carry on to see if he improves? Hits the wall again at Raskas and he aborts that one. Unfortunate there for Rapasa. Was seeming like a very strong lap. He knows he's got the pace in hand here, Joseph, but just can't seem to hook it all up together.
It's going to be an interesting one towards the end of this session, as it looks like the only driver who's able to hook it up has been Gabor Shontos, who does go up to the top of the times. 500ths ahead of Luca Rapasa as the final runs look to begin. Joel Marquardt will be at the first or the second one out on circuit behind Valentino Libella, who still has not got a representative lap time on this board. And so they're going to try and see what they're going to be able to do much earlier than anybody else, or at least they might just be backing off and going for 2 laps, because of course going for just the 1 lap is going to be dangerous when everybody else is looking to come out of the pits. And if anybody goes out a little bit later than this, then they might be facing the traffic of them late on. And that will include Daniel Gottschalk, Lucas Bison, Ryan Grob, Rapasa and Shontos. And I believe Shontos is just heading out of the pit lane now and hoping to rebuild that momentum or continue with the momentum he had early on. And everybody else sitting in that pit lane. Daniel Gottschalk is just coming out of the pit lane now. That's going to have a huge effect on Joel Marquardt's lap if he does decide to push it straight away. But, well, hopefully he can make his way out of the way as Marquardt heads around the final corner.
Yep, here we are then with Joel Marquardt. If you can only hear me in the left ear, I know the issue. I'm very sorry about that. I'll fix that after qualifying. But Joel Marquardt, it looks like potentially... No, he is going to go for this lap. He's just used the burst of the overtake button down that main straight. So we'll see how he does. Nicely done through Sandavort. A little tap on the wall on corner 8. It might lose him a bit of time heading up the hill into Casino Square. And Massenet, the rear of the car, just wants to go round on you through this point in the circuit. Feels like an ice rink as we now head down late on the brakes. Up by half a tenth. This would promote him, I think, just in front of Cameron Dowd if he can carry on this rate of improvement through the Lowe's hairpin. A little bit slow through there and heading into Portier now, down to second gear. Bring that power back up as you head through the tunnel. Make sure you don't go too far on the inside. You hit a little bump through the corner of the tunnel, and now late on the brakes once again into the Nouvelle chicane. It's the yellow flag somewhere on the road. That's for a Ferrari, I think, who has unfortunately made a mistake. That'll be Ryan Modler as we now see Marquardt through the middle sector split. What are we looking at? A near 2/10 improvement. Is Marquardt going to say stake for pole position here as he's now heading into the Raskas and up into the final corner of Anthony Nose for Joel Marquardt? He could be seeing himself onto provisional pole up to the line now. Will he be able to do it? No, just misses out. Oh, so close between him and Gabor, but that gap is only 0.03 of a second.
It's certainly not much at all, and Gabor Shontos is not improving on his lap either, but Luca Rapasa is. He's improved in that first sector, and he might get our first 107 lap time of the day, but never mind. Luca Rapasa cuts the corner at the chicane. And that's going to be the end of his qualifying session as the rest of the drivers come round now and see what they can do. Andrei Molnar is the first one to get our 107 lap time, a 107.645. And Campbell Adams goes up alongside him on that front row. That is incredible to see both the Alpines throwing lap times in at the end of the session as we've got more improvements coming in from more drivers. Ryan Grob retires from the session, but it looks like Keelan Lutt is going to continue on to the end. He might get dirty air from the Aston Martin ahead, but no, he moves out of the way. Daniel Gottschalk slides his way out of the final corner. What's he going to be able to do? It's going to be a 108.399. Nobody, I don't think, is going to be able to match Andrei Molnar's incredible lap time there, a 107.645. We may well have a new King of Monaco.
We certainly might, but Gabor is the only driver remaining, as well as Lucas Baser. Oh no, Gabor into the wall, a big smash up at Massenet. And for Gabor, His final chance is gone a beg, and then you see Rapassa just go straight on into him. So we all eyes turn to Lucas Baesner to see what he can do. Can he throw something to pole position? He's down though in that first sector, so we need monstrous middle and final. Now heading into the Nouvelle chicane. Late on the brakes he goes. Just about manages to keep that one valid. A nice exit out of there as well as he now heads into the back. What's this going to be in the middle sector split? A little tap on the wall. He's only up by 25 milliseconds. It's not seeming like enough so far. We need an absolutely mega Max Verstappen 2023-esque final sector if he wants to try and snatch pole position away from Andre Molnar. DRS open for Baesner. Where will he go? Can he try and snatch it away from the Alpine? He does find some improvement, but stays 10th fastest. And unfortunately for Baesner, that was not the greatest end to the session for him. But it's the two Alpines who occupy the front row of the grid, Andre Molnar and Campbell Adams. And Andre Molnar has dethroned the King of Monaco, which everyone says is his teammate Campbell.
Yes, Andre Molnar, top of the times with an incredible lap time, a 107.645. That sees him on that pole position by some margin. Campbell Adams is 4/10 off of Andre Molnar, and Molnar in the end the only driver to get into the 107s. Adams only 500ths ahead of Gabor Shontos, only half a tenth ahead of the Hungarian, and stopping it from being a 1-2 for the two Hungarians. Looking further down the field, it's Marquardt, Rapassa, Dowds, JST, Lutt, Gottschalk and Bison rounding out the top 10. Labella, Modler and Grob, those who have set times, and then Pressekan, Steg and Steven Vaso without lap times down at the bottom of the field. But that is very impressive from Andre Molnar to set that timing qualifying, and as they head into the race, we'll see what they can do. But this race looks like it might just get a little bit spicier. Midnight and rain, anybody?
Oh, this is going to be very interesting indeed. Who will come out on top? It's a wet Monaco. It makes things 10 times worse and a lot more treacherous for the drivers this evening. I mean, Joseph, we've just seen qualifying. I don't think we can really take much from it heading into the race, but who's your pick for the race victory?
Oh, I think you can't look past Andre Molnar with that incredible pace. But I'm going to go for Campbell Adams. I think Campbell might get that strategy right, because it may well be that it is a wet to dry race, or it's going to be just a wet race all the way through. And I think there may be mistakes drawn out from Molnar. He's hooked it up in that final lap there, but he may well have mistakes in his lap. I don't think we're going to have to do a two-stop strategy in the rain. We're just waiting on confirmation from the Lord Luke himself as to whether we are going to have to do a two-stop, but I don't think we will. I think it would just be a one-stop, two at the very end, or very potentially some drivers might even attempt, and it won't work, but might even attempt a zero-stop.
Yeah, they might do indeed. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think with this level of rain we will be able to get that zero stop in, but it's going to be a very interesting session indeed. The question is, how will the drivers cope with this rain? Makes things 10 times worse. So we're about to get underway for the lights here in Monaco. 5 red lights are on. And we're underway for the Monaco Grand Prix. It's a good start from Andre Molnar, as you can see them all squirm away from that start-finish line. It seems like the Alpines are able to hold on to their lead, but no! Santos into the side of Campbell Adams. Some drama there already at the opening corner of this race. Is there any damage to the Alpine? That's allowed Luca Rapassa through as well. More contact in the background. That might be between Dowds and JST. The V-Carb versus the Mercedes. Molnar already a second clear of the rest of the chasing pack. So a brilliant start for the Alpine here in these treacherous conditions. It's a side-by-side between the two McLarens in the background there. That's Gottschalk and Keedon Lutt. As we now head into the Lowe's hairpin, who's going to go for that dive? It's Gottschalk to the inside of JST there. There's more contact. They're ghosting in between each other. Cars 2 by 2 as we head through the Lowe's hairpin, but it's still Molnar who leads the way, and further back, I think everything is somewhat calming down. It's just the two McLarens ghosting inside each other.
Yeah, it's a 1-2 for the Hungarians at the moment, as everybody fighting each other, probably more than they would even in the dry in these wet conditions as they try to hold on to track position. Bison, Labella, Steg and Pressekan have all gone for a set of the wet compound tyres. Everybody else is on the inters, so it's going to be a little bit hairy for most in the early part of this race, but once they settle into it, it's going to be a-okay for the majority. And Bison, Labella, Steg and Pressacan have all gone for that gamble as Cameron Dowds makes his way past John Marquardt and up into 5th place towards the end of the lap, but he's 1.5 seconds off of Campbell Adams. Campbell 1.5 seconds off of Luca Rapassa, and is that front right end plate off? It may well actually be the front left end plate even on Campbell Adams' car. That's going to be a killer, because we're at Monaco, where notoriously it's difficult to turn.
It certainly is, and he does have that left front end plate off. That is surely going to be from that contact he had with Gabor at the start of this race down at turn 1. Drama at Saint Devote. As Jeff used to say, no heroics into Saint Devote, please. And Santos certainly gave it all of his heroics into that first corner. So that could potentially be a little bit under threat from Stewart's inquiries already. But we have had one driver into the pit lane. That is Valentino Labella. He's moved on to another set of the extreme wet compounder tyres, and he's missing part of his front wing too. So I don't think the team changed that heading into the pit stops. But it's hard to overtake in the wet here, Joseph. In the dry around Monaco here, Joseph. Now we're in the wet. It's going to make everything 10 times harder, and I think we really are going to see a massive chess game and just drivers trying their best not to make any mistakes at all.
Well, I think exactly, and despite the fact that this is a very high level of driver, I think they are going to try and avoid any sort of mistakes that they can make, because it's going to lose them a lot of time. And as we saw with Campbell, if you lose a lot of time, if you lose any of that front wing, you're going to lose a hell of a lot of time. And he is now currently backing up Cameron Dowds, not intentionally, but just looking to hold on to 4th place for as long as he possibly can. He's incredibly slow through that first corner, and that is going to light Cameron's eyes up, although he's going to be disappointed with the fact that he has to stay behind and try to seize an opportunity when it's made, rather than making his way through anyway. Is the first opportunity going to be in the next braking zone down here as they head into the hairpin section? He's going to look at it, but he's not going to try it. Yes, he is, as Campbell Adams runs wide, and he's actually going to try and reverse himself back onto the circuit. Campbell dropping down the field now, and that front wing damage has really put pay to his race, as Cameron Dowds now looks to attempt to chase down the top 3s. 3.5 off for a passer at the moment, and well, there's a little bit of tangling going on. Vaso, I think, might have just gone into the back of Tudor Pressacan. Whether there was damage or not, I'm not sure, but I don't think there was any for Vaso, and he survives for another lap, or at least another corner, as one mistake here is going to cost your entire race. Campbell Adams has learnt it. Valentino Labella has made 2. The one mistake being the fact that he did not just he did not make the switch onto the dry, or not the dry, the intermediate compounder tyres, and the second mistake being that he didn't make the switch from the front wings, which he has now done, and he finds himself 40 seconds off of the pack in a completely different sector. Andre Molnar, fastest lap of the race as he extends his gap.
Yeah, Molnar really loving life at the moment. Here comes Tudor Pressacan into pit lane as well. I think him, Wojtek Steg and Lucas Basner have all made the wrong choice here on tyre strategy. Starting on those wets, it was not the way to go, as Campbell Adams also joins him into pit lane. As you can see, Ryan Grob all over the back of Keaton Lutz as well. To the outside of Massenet. That would have been a bold move if he was able to pull that one off, as he's now going to be trying to find that move into Mirabeau. You could see him just lurching all over the back of the McLaren. Is he going to go for a send to the inside line? No, he's just going to sit behind for now, but needs to be careful with Lucas Basner behind, who's been the best of those wet weather-tired runners, those extreme wets. But still, they will be eaten up quite quickly around a circuit like this. A lot of traction points on this circuit, and if you're on the wrong tyre, especially those extreme wets, they can overheat quite quickly if they don't have the right amount of water, and Basler could see them munched up within the space of a few laps. But Ryan Grob still just having to sit behind, as Gabor Zontos over the course of this lap has been marginally quicker than Andre Molnar.
I've got a little bit of information from specifically Luke about what we're going to do next with the 2-stop strategy, and he is intent on keeping it regardless of the fact that we are in a wet condition. So that is very interesting, and he is going to, well, he's going to have to go for a 2-stop strategy. I say he, everybody in this field, as Stephen Basso looks to the inside of, ooh. Interesting there, and that's going to be something that I think is going to be picked up in the stewards. Stephen Vaso looked to the inside line of Wojtek Steg. Steg was looking to come into the pits and actually turned into the pits, but there was contact, and Vaso didn't yield, meaning that Wojtek Steg is going to have to go on for another lap. He is going to be absolutely furious.
I would be furious too if I was Steg, but that's the price you pay around a circuit like Monaco. If someone's going for that move to the inside line and you want to go into pit lane, unfortunately, you will have to just cede that place and have to keep going around the track. In that process of us saying that, Daniel Gottschalk was able to get past Joel Marquardt for that 6th place. Lovely stuff from the McLaren and the V-Cup, actually missing a bit of his front wing end plate as well. It seems a lot of front wings getting damaged in these opening 5 laps as drivers find their feet in these conditions. Of course, not an easy feat when the walls are millimetres away from your car at the best of times. And with the rear of the car dancing and sliding, the front of the car not wanting to bite and turn in, this circuit really is a killer in these conditions. And as I say that, Stephen Vaso has unfortunately crashed. Is that going to be the first safety car of the evening?
It may well be, but I do know that safety cars are glitched at this circuit, and Stephen Vaso looks like he may well have just gone straight on at the chicane, and that's our first retiree of this race. Surprised it wasn't the likes of Valentino Labella coming into the pits, but instead is Stephen Vaso crashing at the chicane, and that could be the first of many this evening. It's a race of attrition, as always in Monaco, and Stephen Vaso is the first to fall in this session and allows everybody behind to catch up. That allows the opportunity for the likes of Steg or Beisner that started on a set of the wet tyres, an opportunity to maybe come back into the points. Of course, no safety car is one of those glitch circuits, and I don't think we will be seeing a safety car all evening. But it's going to be an interesting one as to whether we are going to be getting points for those who maybe made that wrong strategic call early on in this race. Of course, Wojtek Steg, as a result of that contact with Vaso on the previous lap, actually still on a set of the wets, and I think he might be switching at the end of this lap, as it does appear to be drying up on the racing line, and that is going to provide an opportunity for these drivers to go faster and faster, demonstrated by the fact that Andrej Molnar picked up the fastest lap on the last lap and was instantly replaced by Campbell Adams. So it's getting quicker out there as Ryan Gropp becomes the first driver to pick up a 3-second time penalty that is still in this race. Vaso had a few, but he is gone now, and as we move on to lap number 7 of this race, we have 15 drivers left. Surely Wojtek Steg is going to come into the pits at the end of this lap. He thought that the rain was going to get worse. It stayed the same, but online it's still not too bad. Is Steg going to come into the pit lane? Yes. No, he's not. As Ryan Modler actually dives in.
Ryan Modler coming into the pit lane. Of course, if we're keeping this one stop, that could just be an early call to try and get an undercut here from Modler. So we'll see what he is possibly going to be able to do. Where's he going to come out in relation to the likes of Beisner as well? We've made that pit stop a lap or two before. Tudor Prishkin all over the back of the Kick Sauber, and Modler comes out not only behind Beisner, but Prishkin as well. So it seems that wet weather strategy wasn't the worst, as Campbell Adams sets the new fastest lap of this Grand Prix. Absolutely flying at the moment is that Alpine in 14th place. Unfortunately, he had that front wing damage at the start, because he could certainly be with the likes of Rapassa, Santos and Molnar. Of course, he got the front row of the grid, down in 14th currently, but he will be wanting to fight back and charge back up in this one. If the 2 pit stop rule is still in effect, he's certainly within the window of at least getting into a points-paying position by the time everybody comes into pit lane. But Santos really has started to drop off the back of Molnar here, Joseph, and it's really allowing Rapassa to get close to him. On the last lap, at one point, he was 3 attempts behind it, has shot back up to 7. But I think really here, Rapassa just needs to focus on potentially getting a good run out of Portier, and he could get the move done into the Nouvelle Chicane.
As is the case for pretty much the whole season, Luca Rapassa has been one of the quicker drivers. He's not the quickest driver today, as I believe Andrej Molnar holds that title. But yeah, Luca Rapassa is very, very quick consistently, and he's going to have to find a way past Gabo Santos. Into the pits comes Joel Marquardt for the first of his 2 pit stops. He's been pretty quick as well today, and it's interesting to see, or it will be interesting to see, where he comes out of the pits. Is he going to be behind Beisner and Pressicand? Yes, he is, as they blast past. Is he going to be behind Modler? Modler came in on the previous lap, and Marquardt heads into the first corner and will just about be behind as Modler gets that exit out of the first and swings his way past the V-carb. So the undercut has worked for the Ferrari, and he makes his way ahead of the V-carb man, Campbell Adams, in this pack now, but at the back of it.
Yes, so for Joel Marquardt, it seems that undercut is actually extremely powerful around this circuit. So if you're someone like Luca Rapassa, will you be looking at coming into the pit lane in a short moment's time? As you can see in the chat, Luke just confirming that it is a 2-stop this evening. So all the engineers out there, of all the drivers, make sure the drivers do commit to that 2-stop because it is still in place. So Andre Molnar sets a new fastest lap of this race. Rapassa's still around about 7/10 behind on the exit of Anthony Nose of Gabor Santos. Surely though here, Joseph, if you are Luca Rapassa and you've just seen, or Rapassa's engineer at the very least, and you've seen the undercut that Modler just got on Joel Marquardt, you're surely thinking within the next 2 or 3 laps potentially, bringing that Red Bull into pit lane.
I think it might be a case of not wanting to run those tyres too long as Campbell Adams slams into the wall out of the final corner and he damages his car once again. I don't think we'll be seeing the Alpine in this race for very much longer. But yeah, for Campbell Adams, that is not a race that he would have wanted to see. But Luca Rapassa, I think it makes sense for him to come into the pits. He hasn't done so on this occasion, but he's going to try, I'm sure, and come in before Molnar and Santos, whenever that may be, because then he can gain those 2.1 seconds and climb further up the field and up to up ahead of the Hungarians, hopefully, as out of the penultimate corner Molnar comes. Is he going to dive into the pit lane? No. Is Rapassa going to make that switch? No. They're going to continue on for another lap at least, onto lap number 10 of 39. Is Rapassa going to try and match Molnar here? I don't think that would make much sense, but I think that might be the strategy he's going for. He's just going to try and match him and beat him on pace and hope that Santos goes for a different strat.
Yeah, I think that really is going to be Rapassa's hope. Molnar is really just flying off into the distance at this point. Now 2 seconds clear of the Aston Martin, setting fastest lap after fastest lap. The Alpine is loving these conditions. Contrasting fortunes actually for the 2 Alpines. Yes, they both may be quick, but Campbell Adams into the wall again. Unfortunately, he has picked up a huge chunk of that front wing damage and into pit lane once more. I reckon he will still stay out, and we'll see what he can do. And look at that, Ryan Modler. I say that, Campbell Adams has now retired, but Ryan Modler now setting that fastest lap of the race. So it shows that potentially those fresher tyres are very quick indeed. As here comes Rapassa to the inside of Santos. He got a good run out of Portier into the Nouvelle chicane. He gets that move done nicely, and he's up into second place. Exactly what Rapassa needed to do, exactly what he needed, and he timed that to absolute perfection. And now Santos, you would think, will be starting to fall off the back of him, or could potentially, if you're the Aston Martin driver, come into pit lane now.
Yeah, it's worth a gamble if he wants to dive into the lane, but no, he's going to continue on for at least another lap, lap number 11 then, of this circuit, and Andre Molnar just extending his advantage at the top, but now he has a new challenger in Luca Rapassa trying to bear down on him, and I think Rapassa has that pace over Gabor Santos, so this one might get very close if Rapassa's able to push. I'm pretty sure he's conserved a lot of his mental energy trying to get past Gabor Santos, and now has the opportunity to try and fight forward. 3 seconds is the gap between the two, and it does appear to actually have gone up in that first sector, but Rapassa is going to be trying with all his might to climb and get close to him. Looking further down the field, it's going to be a close one for 10th place. Beissner leads Pressakan, leads Modler, leads Marquardt, all within quote-unquote DRS range. Of course, they don't have DRS today, and they probably won't throughout the course of this evening, but what they do have is they have Slipstream. But on the contrary, what they have is dirty air. Judah Pressakan stepping out of that dirty air to try and get past Beissner, but Beissner just taking the racing line, and that's going to be a defensive manoeuvre for the Kick Sauber, who ends up holding that position. Pressakan looking once again to the inside, but once again Beissner trying to slam that door shut and hold on to the final points position. Pressakan into the Lowe's hairpin and is going to pull alongside. Beissner allowed him the space, but it's essentially if he was just watching him and just letting him do his thing, because he was setting himself up for corner exit, and although Pressakan's inside, Beissner now, it's still the Kick Sauber's position. Luca Rapassa, after all that chasing, has dived into the pit lane. He has picked up damage somewhere, and he is changing a front wing.
Oh, that could have been on that previous tour of the circuit there for Luca Rapassa. So a front wing change onto a fresh set of boots. He'll hopefully be able to make up that time loss to Gabor, or is Gabor going to maybe cover off that undercut? and just be able to make sure that he stays ahead of the Red Bull. But of course, Luca Rapace now coming out of pit lane. Where does he come out in relation to everybody else? There's his teammate Ryan Grob, so he's out just in front of that chasing pack behind Wojtek Steg and Keegan Lutt into pit lane as well. What's going on between Przikin and Lucas Basner? And at the moment, it all stays the same between the pair, as Przikin having to stay behind Lucas Basner for now. But let's see what damage Rapace can do to not only catch up potentially to, well, and get back by Gabor Santos, but also how close he can get to Molnar. Of course, he's had a slower pit stop here, Joseph, but we've seen the pace of those fresh intermediates, so if he can get them fired up quickly, we could see a huge undercut here from the Red Bull.
It's a gamble, but is it going to pay off? And are the Hungarians going to do anything in response? Molnar continues on for another lap, so does Gabor Santos, so it's not quite pit time yet for the majority, and it feels like he just did that out of force. Maybe we might be seeing dry conditions because the rain has very much eased up. Andrej Molnar is going faster and faster and faster as JST comes into the pit lane and becomes the latest driver in surely for a set of the Inters. But it does feel like the rain is easing off here in the Principality, and we might have an opportunity where the dry compound tyres are viable. That is what we're going to see at the end of the race, and I'm sure somebody is going to try and make that gamble as we are a third of the way through this race now. And, well, maybe they won't. Maybe it'll get a little bit better, but at the moment it certainly seems as though the rain is easing off. Andrej Molnar 5.2 ahead of Gabor Santos. Hit ones at the exit of the tunnel, ones at the very start of it. That is the difference between the two. And then Cameron Dowds 5 seconds down the road. He's unfortunate to be down there. He could be further up based on pace, but just having an incident in qualifying is really what has cost him in this race from challenging for a potential podium position. It's still on, don't get me wrong, because of the fact that Luca Rapace had to come into the pit lane, but Rapace is now closing. He's closing on Daniel Gottschalk at least by 2 seconds on the previous lap. Molnar is going to continue on. Is Gabor Santos going to dive into the pit lane? No, he's not, and so they are going to continue for another lap.
These guys of Molnar and Santos do have that good window over Luca Rapace, and they'll really want to just keep out as long as possible and try and keep Rapace behind for as long as they can as well. But Molnar still setting that track alight. He is so far just flying around this circuit, and he's still improving on this next tour. Of course, that track is getting a dry line forming as we now see Ryan Grob into the pit lane for the second time in this race, and now with a change of front wing as well. So Red Bull having to go for a good supply of their front wings. But this track, of course, getting drier and drier here, Joseph. That dry line really is starting to come in and start to form. Where we're seeing those quicker lap times, I don't think we're going to see dries at the end of this race. The rain still seems pretty heavy on the road. But for the likes of Molnar, Santos, with them doing such a long stint on this tyre, it gives them that freedom then on the next 2 stints potentially to really just give it all their might. Now just put their foot to the floor and not really worry about conserving that tyre, unlike Luca Rapace, who will have a good 4 or 5 potentially laps over at least the Aston Martin, and he'll have to be a bit more conservative in this middle stint.
Well, he has nothing to lose, really, does Luca Rapace, so he's going to try and fly up. Not only is he the championship leader by a considerable margin, so if he has one race off, then it doesn't matter too much, but of course, he's going to try and fly it forward and take that win. He's gained another 2 seconds on Daniel Gottschalk on that previous lap, but I think it's a great opportunity for somebody else to get those points, and it's a great opportunity for Luca Rapace to drive without fear and just to see what he can gain out of this race. He is throwing that car around the circuit, and it's demonstrated by the fact that he's picked up the fastest lap of the race on this occasion, a 1:22.7, which is 4/10 ahead of what Andrej Molnar was able to do on a worn set of intermediate tyres. That might inspire the Alpine to come into the pits as Ryan Grob picks up another 3-second time penalty. He came into the pits on the previous lap, and he has come out in 13th place, only ahead of Valentino Labella in that 14th and final spot. Campbell Adams and Stephen Basso, of course, are 2 DNFs. And are we going to be seeing Molnar and Santos into the pits on this occasion? That is what we're going to wait for. Hopefully they know that we're going to have a 2-stop, because if they don't, then that is really going to cost the Hungarian pair at the end of this race? Is Molnar going to dive into the pit lane, or is he going to continue on? He is going to continue on for yet another lap. Does Shontos go a little bit different and dive into the lane? No, he doesn't. So Luca Rapace is going to have at least 4 laps on Andre Molnar and Gabo Shontos in terms of not only tyre wear, but also catching up. I'd say that when they come out of the pits now, it's going to be pretty close.
I think it's certainly going to be close between Santos and also Rapasa. Molnar will still be too far clear at the front of the field. If it wasn't a slow stop, of course, changing that front wing for Rapasa, we could be talking a whole different story on him closing down to Molnar. But of course, these engineers, they're experienced. They know what they are doing. They would surely be listening into our stream to see if this 2-stop is still going ahead. As we now head into the Lowe's hairpin with Gabar Shontos, you can just see how much lock and how slow they have to go through the corner. Not only to just get the car rotated round, but to look after the tyres as well. They can't do what they did in qualifying with just flicking the car and drifting it around the hairpin. They've got to go extremely slowly indeed. That gap currently between Molnar and Rapasa around 26 seconds. So as it currently stands, I think Molnar will come out around about 5 to 6 seconds clear, and Santos a little bit deep as well into the Nouvelle chicane. So let's see what happens this time around. I think Molnar will stay out, but for Santos, I think he's got to come in soon, or Rapasa will once again get that undercut done.
Yeah, he's surely got to come in very, very soon, or he's going to lose a lot of time, because of course, don't forget, he's got to do 2 pit stops, and there goes Gabo Shontos into pit lane. He's listened, and he's conceded. He's into the pit lane, is the Aston Martin, and so is Cameron Dowds in that 3rd place. Where are they going to come out in relation to Luca Rapasa, who heads around the final corner? This is going to be a crucial point that may well decide this race. It's certainly going to decide the early portion. Daniel Gottschalk continues on, and now as Luca Rapasa sets his 2nd fastest lap in 2 laps, he is going to head through the 1st corner behind Gabo Shontos, and he is only just behind the Aston Martin. But with all that work that he has had to do to get back ahead, that is going to be hugely demoralising.
It certainly will be indeed. And for Gabor and his engineers, they timed that to sheer perfection. If they stayed out for an extra lap, Rapasa would have surely been through. So well done to Santos and his team to get him in when they did, and to get that tyre lap delta with the age deficit that he'll now have compared to Rapasa, and he surely should be able to now just start to maybe break away into the distance. And of course, Andre Molnar's still got another 6 seconds, so he could stay out for another 3 or 4 laps here before he has to desperately come into pit lane, as Tudor Presican now going for that move on Lucas Baton, now ghosting inside one another. As they head out of Portier, it's all about who can get the better run through here now, and it does seem like the Mercedes is starting to streak that little bit further clear. They're still 1 by 1 inside each other, heading into the Nouvelle chicane now, and it is the Mercedes who comes out on top. It's a nice move from the Romanian there. Gottschalk is into the pit lane, and for Molnar, he'll carry on, I would say, for the next 3 or 4 laps before he desperately needs to come into pit lane, or he's an undercut range from the Aston Martin.
Yes, he's going to have to, and I think he might be in undercut range already if Rapasa and Shontos are able to push each other along. Shontos is going to try and push everything in front of Rapasa, not only to stay ahead, but also to get ahead of Andre Molnar, because it's going to be difficult to get past even with brand new tyres. As out of the pit lane comes Daniel Gottschalk, who actually cuts across straight after the white or the yellow line even, just so he can stay ahead of the B-carb of JST. He moved so aggressively across just to try and defend that position, and it has seemed to work. Andre Molnar, 24.9 seconds ahead of Gabo Shontos now, and well, he's going to come into pit lane soon, but how soon is he going to make that switch from the intermediate tyre to another set of the intermediate tyre? It's not going to be on lap 18 of this Grand Prix, and yeah, he's just going to continue on for yet another lap. So this is a very interesting attempt for Andre Molnar at the moment, who's going to go very, very long. I do hope that he has remembered that he does have to go for a 2-stop strategy, and yeah, we'll see. He's going to lose 19 seconds in the pits, so I think, and make that 20 or 21 because of the exit out of the first corner being so crucial, as opposed to the tight pit exit. So I'd say that Andre Molnar has about 3 seconds of leeway at the moment, but as Gabo Shontos sets the fastest lap of the race, It's closing in. We're over halfway through the race now. Molnar is going to have to pit twice. Cameron Dowd's fast lap of the race as he launches his own assault on the podium.
Yes, he'll want to try and get onto the podium. Of course, the Scot trying to close down that gap to Luca Rapassa, which the Red Bull has the advantage of 45 points in the standings over the Mercedes man. I'll be looking to try and really take a stronghold and just take a few points off him so far in this round. If he can keep doing that over the rest of the season, he certainly could be in that title picture come that final round. But at the moment, it is upper hand to Luca Rapassa, and at the moment, the Red Bull is going to be losing his streak of the first 4 races and not finishing below second place. It will still be a podium, so he'll keep his 100% podium streak alive. Unfortunately, could potentially see that second place stat unfortunately come to an end and be third place at the very least, as he's now still stuck behind Gabor Santos. That gap now 24.3 seconds between the Aston Martin and the Alpine. So we now head through the Raskas and into Anthony Nose. Not many battles out on the circuit. We could see one maybe brewing between Modler and Joel Marquardt. But I think at the moment here, Joseph, I think Rapassa and Santos are playing this correctly, with Rapassa just sitting behind the Aston Martin, not attacking, and just allowing Santos to push on into that clean air and not having to worry about the pressure from behind.
But something interesting that I've noted is Andre Molnar is not actually losing that much time to Gabor Santos now. I think that they might just have stabilised the gap, which means Molnar is going to have the opportunity to continue on for as long as he wants, pretty much. And so those tyres don't appear to be going off in relation to Gabor Santos as much as we'd expect them to be, which is an interesting quirk about the intermediate tyres, as Bison and Modler both come into the pits and will come out in 12th and 13th place. It's an interesting quirk about the intermediate tyres is that they do not wear pretty much at all. They wear, in comparison to a set of the, well, take for example the dry tyres, they don't wear in any way, shape or form, and so Molnar is not going to lose that much time ahead of Gabor Santos. Of course, the fresh compound tyres are going to feel that little bit better, but it's not going to be that significant as Luca Rapassa. That is going to have huge significance towards the end of the race. 3-second time penalty for track limit warnings, as well, potentially he may have fallen foul of the new update to the game, where if you hit the wall, you are going to get another warning, and well, it's going to be more warnings than you'd expect to get. Luca Rapassa picking up 3 seconds of a time penalty in his chasing of Gabor Santos. Maybe that's the dirty air coming into effect. Cameron Dowd gains another second on Luca Rapassa on that previous lap. This could turn into a four-way fight very easily.
It certainly could, and I think Rapassa's race-winning hopes might have just gone up in smoke thanks to that penalty, and goes a little bit deep into Mirabeau as well, as Joel Marquardt and Tudor Prescon come into pit lane. So they move on to a fresh set of the intermediates, and that will take them to the end of the race, I am sure. But yeah, you're right about those intermediates of Andre Molnar. They do not wear at all. You can do a full 50% race on the intermediates as well around most circuits, so they do last quite a while. They are a very, very durable tyre indeed. There's actually been a move between Joel Marquardt and Ryan Modler on a pit lane exit, and it is the Ferrari getting his way past the V-carb and now up into 12th place, with Tudor Prescon just coming out in front of Lucas Baisner by 1.3 seconds. But for Rapassa there, I think now his best bet is hope for maybe damage to both Molnar and Santos, or something drastic to happen between the pair if he wants any chance of winning. But look at the rate that Cameron Dowd is starting to close in on them. That gap now 9.7 seconds. He really is closing in at a rate of knots.
Yeah, very much so. And well, he's locked in, I think, ever since he came into the pit lane. He's just completely focused on pushing in. Another purple final sector for Dowds, even if it wasn't a purple lap, once again shows the pace that he's demonstrating in order to potentially get this pole or this podium away from at least Rapassa with that 3-second penalty, because Dowds only has to close 6 seconds and 5 tenths in order to catch up to the Red Bull of Rapassa and make it onto the final step of that podium. Then if Andre Molnar doesn't come in, which it doesn't look like he's going to anytime soon, then Dowds is going to gain just that little bit more. But yeah, Andre Molnar at the moment at the top of this field, still not coming into the pit lane, and well, he's going to continue on to another lap, and I very much hope that he knows that it's a 2-stop.
I think he does. I'm just checking the chat. for the drivers, and he was the one that actually popped the question into the chat of is it a 2-stop in the wet? Is it still needed? And Luke replied to him saying yes. So Andre does know it is a 2-stop. It's not like he's unaware of it. So he's just really, I wouldn't be surprised if he's taken this stint so long, of course, in this opening phase, to just then smash out a fresh set of the intermediates near the end. Of course, he's still got around about a 2 to 3 second buffer at the moment, so I expect within maybe the next couple of laps he'll come into pit lane. Studer Preskin now picks up a 3-second time penalty, so he can then do a short, I would say, 5-lap burst on a set of intermediates, come in again, and then do another 5 to 6 lap burst again. So for Andre Molnar, I think he's still got another 2 or 3 laps left in him before he has to come into pit lane. But I think he really is playing this one nicely, because he can just use up all the tyre he possibly can early on, come straight back in, and then go on to a fresh set once more. So he's really good, could use this, treat these as like a remaining 10 qualifying laps by the time he comes into pit lane.
I think the interesting part for Andre Molnar is he actually going to do this whole first stint? He's not losing that much time. He's losing a bit of time, but he's not losing that much time out at the front of the field. So I think, well, I mean, he's not allowed to pit on the last lap. We've been through that before, but we're allowed to pit just 1 lap before the end. I think Andre Molnar might be going for that one. I'd love it if he did. I'd love it if he goes for literally the penultimate lap and then the final lap where he dives into the pit lane. And I do have confirmation. At least the head of Alpine Esports, Timbo, knows that Andre is going to have to dive into the pit lane. Ryan Grob picks up another 3-second time penalty. He's in the points, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last, especially as everybody else has picked up the has got everyone behind him has come back into the pit lane, and that is going to be disappointing for Ryan Grob, a day where he has not really hooked it up. 12 seconds worth of penalties, and he looks like he might still be dropping, as that is going to be Wojtek Steg into the pit lane for his second stop, and the Haas driver is in with 15 laps to go as Judah Prescan sets the fastest lap of the race, snatches it off Cameron Dowds, who he'll be partially happy that his teammate gets it, partially desperate to gain it back.
He certainly will, as there could be a battle brewing between Marquardt and Modler, and there could still actually be one between Esti and Tudor Preskin, as they now head down into Mirabolamus. Sadie's jinx out to the right hand side, and Andre Molnar is finally into pit lane. So Molnar finally into the pits. He'll come out surely in front of Gabor Santos. So let's quickly head over to the Alpine, just trundling down the pit lane. Not the other two aren't even in sight. Was well within the pit lane exit lines, and as easy as you like, back out onto the road, and still has a 4-second advantage over both Rapassa and Gabor Santos. He timed that to perfection. Beautifully done strategy so far for Molnar. And now what he can do again here, Joseph, is build that gap up once more on those fresher tyres, and then leave it an extra 2 or 3 laps before the end of this race, before he then has to come in to cover him off again. So it's working out beautifully here for the Alpine.
Yes, it is. And, I said he was going to lose 19 seconds in that pit stop. I was absolutely right. And, Andre Molnar at the moment 4 seconds, or 3.3 now, ahead of the field. And this is a great opportunity for that Alpine driver to just extend that advantage at the top. With a brand new set of the intermediate strapped on, he is just going to try and fly away from the rest of the field now before he comes in for that final pit stop, which of course will be coming soon. And I think this second stop will be a little bit more natural. I think he'll come in around when Santos and Rapassa do, of course, 1 lap later than them. But I think he's going to try and do that as Judah Prescan sends it to the inside line of JST. There's contact between the two, as JST didn't want to give him the space, and they continue scrapping into the Lowe's hairpin, and JST didn't want to give Prescan the space so much that they squeezed each other into the wall and dropped down at the order. So those two getting a little bit spicy, going a little bit over the limit and dropping positions.
That is crucial for their races. Of course, with not much time left to go. Very much Kimi Räikkönen, Kevin Magnussen-esque in 2014, where neither one wanted to budge, and they both saw themselves facing the wall, but luckily these drivers with no damage. So I say, no, JST does not have any front wing damage. I thought he did for a second. But Cameron Dowds still is really flying out in front. That gap now 7.7 seconds to Luca Rapassa. If he finds another 4, he'll be on the podium, and that will be some crucial points for back as Trudeau Preskin comes into the pit lane. Unfortunately, he retires from the session, not having any more of it, and unfortunately throws the white flag, and he surrenders for this evening. And talking about Tudor Preskin, the battle he was in with SD, Marquardt, Modler and Baisner is actually starting to heat up quite nicely. This is for the final point-paying position, and Joel Marquardt now is all over the back of Ryan Modler for that 9th place currently on the road. So we'll see if the V-Carb can make his way through, and hopefully, unlike his teammate SD, he don't see himself parked up in front of a wall.
No, hopefully not. And, well, yeah, he's certainly going to hope that that's not what's going to happen, as that could be the moment of the evening. Just both cars being parked in the wall. Cameron Dowds in again and going for an undercut on Rapassa, Shontos and Molnar. Is he going to get held up by Daniel Gottschalk? Now, that is a question that will be answered very shortly. He is going to come on he's going to come out of the pit lane, and where is he going to come out of the pits? He's going to come out in P5, but how far back on Daniel Gottschalk is he going to be? It's going to be 8 seconds, as a good point has actually been made to me in DMs, and that is that they've returned to the previous way of being able to see the full name, so we know exactly who's where when, and that is a great change that they've made. Nobody's happy about the update, but I'm happy about that part from a broadcasting perspective. So it feels significantly better that they have done that. But now we haven't got long left in this race. Andre Molnar leading the way, extending that gap to Gabor Shontos, and it feels like he was able to match the pace on worn tyres, but the pace that he's showing on brand new tyres is just different.
It really is, and I didn't actually notice that update until you've just pointed it out. So yeah, thank you, Cody, for that. We've been waiting for it for so long, and both Shontos and Rapassa are in. Is that a response to Cameron Dowds? And has Rapassa tried undercutting Shontos in all of this as well? And unfortunately, they both come into pit lane. And for Molnar, he still has that good 2 or 3, potentially 4 lap advantage over the pair, so he can stay out for a little bit longer. And these guys are going to come out well in front of Cameron Dowds. But for Rapassa, of course, it's not as plain sailing as it is for the Aston Martins. Could they actually be held up by Daniel Gottschalk? They just come out in front. I think that's what they were looking for, and actually some contact potentially between the McLaren and the Red Bull. And Daniel Gottschalk nearly into the back of Luca Rapassa. But that was very, very close times indeed. And for Cameron Dowds now, he needs to put the foot down. He needs to try and gain at least those 4 seconds to try and jump Luca Rapassa. I said it's not as easy for Rapassa as it is for Shontos, and that's because he has that 3-second time penalty. And at the moment in time here, Joseph, the Mercedes is certainly the quicker car.
Yes, he certainly is at the moment. Cameron Dowds is flying on this circuit, and he's just going to pick up fastest lap after fastest lap as he tries to close down on Rapassa and Shontos. I don't think Andre Molnar is going to be... I don't think he's going to be caught today, to be perfectly honest, but I think there's a potential that Rapassa and Shontos are, and they're going to try and close right in to the back of the Red Bull and the Aston Martin. But Shontos with the purple second sector, trying to extend that gap, and Rapassa trying to stay with the Hungarian is just going to try and extend that advantage over the Scotsman as Daniel Gottschalk comes into the pits. He's not going to trouble Cameron Dowds today as he heads out of the final corner and continues on to lap number 29 of 39 and picks up the fastest lap in while he goes, and that's a very, very good lap from him at 1 minute 20.729. It looks as though the rain has almost stopped. It's not quite stopped yet, but it's certainly on its way.
It certainly is slowing down, but I don't think it'll be enough by the end of this race. As now we see Ryan Modler all over the back of Lucas Baisner, still trying to find a way through. Unfortunately, at the moment, just having to sit behind it is really tense times between Modler and Baisner to try and find that gap, and in these conditions it just makes it 10 times harder. And unfortunately, you see yourself just staring at the back of the car in front, but for a much longer time than what you would dearly want. So for Modler now heading into the Lowe's hairpin as Andre Molnar now sets another new fastest lap of this race. Cameron Dowd's pace has somewhat subsided. He's lost a bit of time to Rapasa over the course of this previous lap. So I think Rapasa could potentially see himself safe from the threats. We have 10 laps to go here in the Principality. And for Andre Molnar, I expect him into the pit lane within the next 2 laps.
Yeah, I'd expect so at the very least. And Andre Molnar, with just the 9 laps to go in this race, he's either going to do that or he's going to go right at the very end of the race. And what scenes that would be if Andre Molnar was able to pull off pitting on lap 39 of 39, just coming into the pits with, well, it would be lap 38 when he crossed the line. But yeah, he's just... It would be really funny if he did that, in my opinion, and Andre Molnar, with just 9 laps to go, he may well be doing that as Keedan Lutt into the pit lane. And he's going to make his switch for the final time in this race, and he drops. He won't drop out of the points, but he drops down to 10th place. Valentino Labella round in the final corner. He's not had the greatest of days, and well, he's pitted twice, and so he's actually going to come out ahead of Keedan Lutt, and he has an opportunity for points, but he's actually going to come out behind as he didn't get the greatest exit out of the first corner, and he pulls alongside Lutt. Is he going to be able to pull ahead of the McLaren? No, because Lutt breaks a lot later. He's able to get those Inters up to speed very, very quickly, and Valentino Labella's 27-lap-old Inters, I don't think they're going to be lasting very much longer.
No, I don't think they will. He will certainly be able to take them to the end, but I don't see Labella getting into the points. He's actually holding up his teammate, Wojciech Steg, in all of this as well. As you can see how slow they have to go through the hairpin from that off-board shot, especially when someone is right behind you and it all just concertinas up when you're in a little train like that. As Cameron Dowds now sets the fastest lap of the race. I said his pace may have subsided. He's taken that gap down over the course of the previous lap by a second to Luca Rapasa. As you can see, Wojciech Steg looking to the inside of his teammate Labella there. That was very close times between the two Haas drivers. And that could have been some dire contact as we now exit out of Tabac and now into the swimming pool chicane. And Ryan Grob is all over the back of these two as well and could potentially be looking for a move into the Raskas. He's looking to the outside. There's contact made between the pair. Somehow Wojciech Steg has kept it in a straight line. There's more contact. Steg in the wall. Lost a bit of his front wing end plate. And I think Grob is finally going to see himself through. No, he's not. He's just going to have to sit behind for now. But some contact near the rear of the field. And unfortunately for Wojciech Steg, I don't think he's going to be holding on to that place much longer.
Yeah, unfortunately not for Wojciech Steg, and I don't think he is going to hold on to that place, but it is the battle for 12th place, which means that they're not fighting for position, they're just fighting for glory, especially with Ryan Grob's penalties, and he's slapped the wall on the exit, and he's just trying to find an opportunity and an opening past Steg. Is he going to be able to find it into the hairpin? No, and he just stays in position for the time being. Unfortunate for him that he's not going to be able to find his way through, and I don't know if you got that shot right there, but Andre Molnar is not that far off. He was heading into those hairpin as those two were heading out of the section, so that could play a part in this battle. And also Molnar's chase towards the front. I think he might come into the pits when he finds that he catches up to these drivers, and then Gabor Shontos and Luca Rapasa will not be able to close in. But yeah, Andre Molnar doing a very, very spectacular job at the moment. Molnar is GOATIS, as was pointed out in chat, because of course his affiliation with the Alpine Esports team, and he's doing very, very well as it stands. Looking down at the battle for 6th place, Lucas Beisner leads Ryan Modler, leads Joel Markwood, who leads JST. This one could heat up within the next couple of laps, especially if Ryan Modler is able to push. He's conserved a little bit more, I think, than Lucas Beisner in the early part of this stint, and there's a little bit of contact between the two. Modler is desperate to find a way past. He might have just opened one up here, but it's not to be, and Lucas Beisner holds on to 6th place. He's been defensively sound so far this race, and it looks like it might continue.
Yes, it certainly does. We could actually see a little bit of push to pass here from Ryan Modler to try and get through. Now heading into the Nouvelle chicane, just will not be close enough for the move. And Beisner holds strong, of course. He can very easily defend around Monaco. It's just trying to keep up with the pressure that the car behind is putting on you. So for Ryan Modler, he needs to just keep doing what he was doing, where he's just looking for lunges, just going offline, trying to trick and jump Lucas Beisner off the racing line and pry that door open. But unfortunately at the moment not able to do so, as Ryan Grob is finally able to get past Wojciech Steg and moves himself up into 12th place. As Ryan Modler still looks at the back of Basler, and to think these guys were running 10th, 11th and 12th not too long ago. Modler and Basler now battling for a potential top 6 spot. I wouldn't be too sad with this race if I was one of these guys from a little bit earlier on.
No, I think they've set themselves up pretty well, considering it's Andre Molnar into the pits lap 33, and this is the crunch time for this race as a whole. Molnar on the exit then of the pit lane, as Shontos is on the exit of the swimming pool chicane, and he's going to see where he's going to come out in relation. Out of the final corner then comes Gabor Shontos. This is going to be a race-defining moment. It's so hard to get past, and Molnar is going to head into the first corner and out of it unchallenged. Andre Molnar leads the way. Gabor Shontos in second and Luca Rapassa in third. The gap has come down in comparison to what it was in the first stint, but it's still 3 seconds. Andre Molnar has played this race to perfection. He's gone for the significant overcut, and it's paid off, and all he can do now is manage that car to the end.
Yeah, that's all it's going to be now for the remaining few laps of this race. 6 laps to go, and Molnar can just somewhat coast his way to the finish, because even if Zontos catches up here, Joseph, Molnar could just keep his car as wide as possible and not worry about the move being made. A bit like what we're seeing from Lucas Basner with Ryan Modler. So it is really just now Molnar, keep it out of the walls, make sure you don't cut across the corners for any track limit penalties, and bring this car home. He is staring at utter domination. I think we could potentially see a Grand Slam coming Andre Molnar's way.
I think we could potentially, and yeah, Andre Molnar is going to demonstrate probably the most dominant performance that I think we've seen so far this season. I mean, we've seen dominant performances at Monaco in the past, but this is a brand new one, and Andre Molnar doing a very, very good job with just the 4 laps to go then, and or the 5 laps to go even, I can't count, and Andre Molnar doing an exemplary job at the front of the field. Has absolutely dominated pace-wise, and the strategy has been nothing short of exceptional. He's been able to take advantage of the pace advantage that he's had, and he will look to finish off this race in style. Now that he's warmed those tyres up, he's going to open up the gap to Gabor Shontos, and just, you know, he will take this race at a canter, it feels like, as there's fighting further down the field. Grob makes his way past Valentino Labella as they headed into the braking zone of the chicane. And the Red Bull up to 11th place, but that's not going to be too disappointing for Labella, because Grob is going to get that penalty and drop back down. Although Labella looks to be losing a decent chunk of time and might be into the arms of Wojtek Steg heading into the final few laps of this race.
He certainly could do, and shout out to Labella actually for 32 laps, and that will head up to around about, I want to say, 37 laps by the time we reach the end of this race on that intermediate tyre. So a really nice job from him there. Even if he does finish in last, that's still quite an achievement in itself, as Andre Molnar does then pick up a new fast lap into the 19.5s. We shall go. And it's nicely done from the Alpine at the front of the field. Modler trying to put some pressure on Lucas Basner, but in that, he's actually coming under a little pressure himself from Joel Marquardt behind. So it was all maybe kicking off slightly. There's a yellow flag somewhere on the road. I think that's for Wojtek Steg. Something's happened to the Haas. Potentially what we saw happen between Esti and also Tudor Preskin, where he's gone off at the Lowe's hairpin. Unfortunately, has picked up a bit of front wing damage. I think Labella is going to be safe from his teammate. And for Cameron Dowds, as we mentioned earlier, in that battle for third place, his pace is somewhat stopped and slowed a little bit. I think Luca Rapassa is just going to be able to hold on to that third place, sorry.
Yeah, Rapassa now 5 seconds ahead of Cameron Dowds. He has dropped off the back of Gabor Shontos, but it's natural. When you stop pushing for that second place because you feel like you're not going to get it towards the end of this race, then these sorts of things happen where that gap opens up, but he's managed to manage the gap to Cameron Dowds very well, and it's 5.4 seconds as it stands. So Dowds, with that pace advantage, not being able to offset a DNF in qualifying, and just not doing the job, not getting it done as well as he would have wanted to. Not that he's done badly at all, Cameron Dowds, in the final stint of this race. And, well, to be fair, throughout the race as a whole, through The qualifying, it was a little bit of a different situation, but in the race, it's not been bad. And don't get me wrong, he didn't set a bad lap in qualifying either. The final few laps of this race are underway, and Andrei Molnar leads said way ahead of Gabor Shontos. He's opening up that gap ever further. It's 3.8 seconds now, and it might jump up to 4 by the end of this lap, which is just sensational. The way that Andrei Molnar has managed this race, it feels like in that first stint, it feels like despite the fact his tyres were 20 laps older than Shontos and Rapasa, he was able to go the same pace as them. But now that he's got the newer tyres, now that he's made the switch, they are brand new, and he makes them look brand new, whereas Shontos and Rapasa cannot keep pace with the Alpine driver.
No, they certainly cannot. Molnar has just driven this race to an absolute perfection, and he can look back on this one very, very happily indeed, and say, yes, that is probably one of my best performances in a car. And oh, Cameron Dowd's his challenge has come to an end, as he now picks up a 3-second time penalty for himself. But luckily for him, his closest competitor is 21 seconds behind, as Molnar's now into the 19.3s. Could we see a low 19 at the end of this one? Or will the Alpine just decide now it's time to bring it home? Bring the car back in one piece. Make sure you don't pick up any penalties and see yourself to the line, as we now head up into Massenet with Cameron Dowds. 5.1 seconds behind Rapasa. Now with that 3-second time penalty, he charges over, and Rapasa can breathe quite a heavy sigh of relief.
Yes, he can, because Dowds was closing by about half a second a lap, which would have made it very nervy at the end of this Grand Prix. But alas, he is not able to get close enough, as well, there's more penalties applied to Ryan Grob's time. He now has 25 seconds worth and no front wing end plate to boot. And he's just going to try and make it to the end of this race, I would imagine. If he DNFs now on the penultimate lap, he would look very, very silly. But no, he doesn't. He continues on, and he will continue on to what will be the final lap. But Andrei Molnar has raced this race to absolute perfection. And he's still on lap 38 of 39, setting purple sectors in the penultimate lap of this race. That is truly the sign of somebody who is in absolute flow state. I talk about flow state a lot when it comes to drivers. It is the absolute peak performance they can put in. And Andrei Molnar, lap 19 of lap 39, setting a 1:19.2. That is absolutely sensational. Flow state is when you get to, it's like an out-of-body experience when you are just performing to a level higher than you even thought was possible. And Andrei Molnar is doing that and more today. He dominated qualifying, setting a lap time that even Niall Gio couldn't match. And in the race, he's just done almost exactly the same as he did in qualifying. Almost exactly the same times as well, of course, although it was not quite the same conditions he's had to deal with, and it's the intermediates, but he's adapted and he's driven and he has performed absolutely incredibly, and he's going to come home through the final sector now to take a thoroughly deserved victory.
Yes, he certainly has, and to boot, he actually could potentially lap Wojtek Steg in the process. But this has been an absolutely outstanding drive. Andrei Molnar can count himself in a lucky few as a driver here in WOR to pull off a Grand Slam. Pole position, race victory, led every lap, fastest lap. We have a new prince of the Principality. It's Hungarian heroics up at the front of the field. Andrei Molnar wins here in Monaco. A very deserved victory at the very least. A superb drive from the Alpine man. Zontos comes across in second, with Rapasa finally achieving a result that's not first or second, it's third place. It's still 100% podiums, and he does extend that championship lead over rival Cameron Dowds, who finishes off in fourth place. Just shouldn't come across with that charge. But for Andrei Molnar and for Alpine, sheer delight here under the lights in Monaco. The Principality certainly does have a new member to add to the Royal Crown.
They certainly do, and a 1-2 for Hungary. It will be absolute jubilation there as Andrei Molnar takes that first place, and Gabor Shontos comes runner-up. Luka Rapasa defends that championship lead almost exactly as well as he could have. Third place, 15 points on the board, and nobody is going to be able to touch the Italian as he continues that position at the top of the field. Or I believe he might actually be Dutch. That's my mistake there. But yeah, the Red Bull driver up at the very top of the field, and third place is once again where he ends, as consistency appears to be key. And that is the way that the Dutchman is going to win a championship. But yes, P1 for Molnar, P2 for Shontos. It's Hungarian delight, and it's going to be hopefully Hungarian delight in the commentary box, as hopefully we're going to get the opportunity to speak to the most overtakes for Ryan Modler, who of course came from 12th place up to 7th. And there was a few drivers that fought their way up the field partially as a result of Campbell Adams' unfortunate DNF on that first lap.
Yeah, unfortunate DNF there for Vasso and co. Unfortunately, that is what happens at Monaco. It does certainly bite. And for Hungary, they've got a 1-2 here in the Principality. Andrei Molnar comes out on top from Gabor Zontos in second. Luka Rapasa, the Dutchman, does keep that 100% podium streak from Cameron Dowd in fourth. Daniel Gottschalk over a pit stop behind the man in fourth does end up fifth. Basner heroically held on to that sixth. Mod the seventh. Marquardt 8th, SD 9th, Lutt 10th, 11th Labella, 12th is Grob, and then your DNFs are Wojtek Steg, Truda Preskin, Campbell Adams and Stephen Vasso, who round out your field. But let's bring it back. And Joseph, that was an absolutely amazing race really there from the drivers, and especially for Andrei Molnar, just managed that so well. As soon as he led from that opening lap, he just never looked back and just looked so comfortable in that Alpine.
It felt like whatever lap he pitted on, he would have been taking the victory regardless. It felt like there was no stopping Andrei Molnar today. And as it happened, nobody was able to stop Andrei Molnar today. He took a very, very easy victory, and hopefully we're going to get the opportunity to speak to the Hungarian. But I know who we're going to get the opportunity to speak to, and it'll be the third place man, Luka Rapasa, who performed very well this race. But unfortunately, a 3-second time penalty stopped him from getting the opportunity to challenge any further with Gabor Shontos for P2. So Luka, are you able to hear us? Wonderful. Do you want to just lead us through the race in general, the Monaco Grand Prix, from your perspective?
To be honest, apart from the start, where I gained to play it, the race was absolutely terrible. The setup I made on the spot was quite shit. Then I got damage. I think I got initial damage, and that caused me to get more damage. So I undercut. Still came out behind Gabor to change my wing. Then I was hoping I could be ahead of him, but of course I got out behind him. Then I got a 3 seconds. Then I was hoping Cameron wouldn't catch me, which he didn't, and he also got a penalty. And then I was just stuck behind Gabor for the entire last stint as well, so nothing really happened. It was really shit, to be honest.
Yeah, it was kind of just a very much of a procession there for you, Luka. Unfortunate with that wing damage. Did you pick that up after you passed Gabor and unfortunately just hit the wall potentially on a corner exit?
Well, I got it when in the first stint, when Andre was the closest to us. I got it in Tabak, like the tiniest bit, but it was like enough to notice the end of the thing. Then Gabor made a mistake into the tunnel, so I overtook him. And like, honestly, like 1 or 2 laps later, I just hit the wall again in Tabak, and I just got more damage. I instantly pit as well. So yeah, I don't know how I finished where I finished, but I guess the podium is decent.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, of course, we have to talk about the championship as the championship leader. How's that looking? Do you feel as though you're cruising now towards it? Because of course you were 45 points ahead, over double anyone else's points, and it feels like that's going to continue today with your position ahead of Dowds. Do you think that it's your championship to lose, despite the fact we're only halfway through the season?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, I mean, um, I'm like, I don't know, like 48 points ahead of him now. Um, it's like I shouldn't, if you're honest, I shouldn't lose this, but you know, everything can happen. So I guess this is my championship to lose.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, you've got a nice and healthy advantage over Cameron. We head now into, I want to say, a 2-week break before the next race in Azerbaijan. What's the game plan over that break? Are we just gonna chill, maybe practice a little bit here and there, and just see how the second half of the season treats you?
Well, I'm gonna practice with B Shield, and I'm just gonna not touch the game, and then I just slowly get back into it. I'm just gonna chill out for a bit now.
That's fair enough. Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and congrats on your, from the sounds of things, unexpected podium.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, hopefully in a minute we're going to get the opportunity to speak to Andrej Molnar on the way that he performed in this race. Of course, absolutely dominant. Andrej, talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was really waiting for this race. This was my first race in this season. Unfortunately, I couldn't race in the previous races, but I was really waiting for Monaco because, unlike for many people, Monaco is my favorite circuit. I know it's strange, but I am also strange, so yeah. So I was waiting for it. I actually did a personal best in the qualifying session, and then basically I was just hoping to get myself in the least amount of traffic possible during the race. That's what we did with my engineer Timbo. Thanks for the engineering, by the way. And yeah, basically that was it. It was not really an exciting race, but it was quite hard to manage the wet conditions at the start of the race because it was very wet conditions and we were driving on intermediates. But other than that, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I hope I can return during the season for more races.
Yeah, it was a really good drive from yourself. As you said, it's your favourite track. You just look so comfortable out there, Andre. Just what was your thought process, especially after that? Well, before your first pit stop, because you extended quite a bit over Gabor and Luca. Were you expecting them to be potentially closing up a bit quicker on those fresher tyres, or were you very much, this is what it should be and I can just take my time with things?
No, I was surprised that they were not closing that much, so we decided to stay out until they reach within like 3 seconds. I mean, if after I pit. So yeah, we were just waiting for the last second to pit, and then we pitted, and it was and in the last stop it was basically the same, but I encountered a bit of lap traffic, so we decided to pit earlier. But I could have pitted like on the last lap, I think, if I wanted to. But yeah, it is what it is. It was good like this also, so yeah.
I was willing you to pit on that last lap because I thought that would have been really fun. But yeah, I mean, the strategy you went for was very, very different to those behind. And well, in the end, it was the right strategy to go on. Although I think your pace ended up being the determining factor. And yeah, you took that victory home. Just a quick question about the strategy. Did you go into the race knowing it was going to be a 2-stop strategy, or did you just decide to wing it? Then when you got confirmation, you just went when you wanted.
Well, we were actually asking Luke on the chat because we didn't know if it should be a 2-stop or a 1-stop. But I got the confirmation during the race, but we decided to extend the stint anyway, so it didn't really affect the strategy that we didn't know it was going to be a 2-stop.
Yeah, it was a very, very good drive indeed. And I mean, just overall perfect from you, of course. We now head into a 2-week break before Baku. I mean, is there any more circuits on the calendar where we could see this level of domination from you, Andre, or is Monaco really just that much of an outlier circuit on this calendar for you?
I mean, I hope we have a lot of other circuits where I can win like this, but I think Monaco is just a really good track for me. It has been a really good track for me for multiple games now, so I think it's a one-off, but I hope it's not.
We hope.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, we certainly do hope so. And well, unless you've got anything else, Max, I think we'll let Andre go and enjoy his evening.
No, just well done on the drive, mate, and hopefully we shall be interviewing as a winner very, very shortly.
Yeah, thank you guys and good night.
Right then, so
Yeah.
that is that. Lovely stuff there from Andre Molnar. And I mean, that's really going to be it from us here as well, Joseph. We'll quickly run everybody through the rest of the calendar. Of course, I think if my maths is correct, it is a 2-week break between now and September 1st. And we'll head over to Baku for another street circuit. So maybe some more chaos being thrown up there before we head to Silverstone on September 8th. Then we make a trip over to Italy for Imola. Then we head over to Asia for Japan, and then over to the Middle East for Abu Dhabi to round off the season on September 29th. It should be a very interesting rest of the season, but heading into this short break here, Joseph, the question is anyone going to really be able to come close enough to Rapasa?
I find it very unlikely. And by the way, it's not a 2-week break; it is a 1-week break.
Oh, it's one.
But I don't think anybody will be able to come near Rapasa. I think you are absolutely right. And well, just the pace that he has, I think, is enough to take him over the line now, just because of the start that he's had. And yeah, fair enough for Luca Rapasa as he establishes his performances at the top once again, and yeah, doing an incredible job as it stands. And he looks like he might be heading on to his first Tier 2 title, joining the likes of Jan Halliday and Julian Klaffenbach as recent winners. And yeah, he could be he could be in with a very, very good shout.
Yeah, of course, this now, well, thank you for correcting me, week break is a perfect time for some drivers to recharge, regroup, and go again. But I think that really is going to be it from us, Joseph. So is there any last thoughts before we do head off?
No, just thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much to everyone who's stuck around till the very end, because, of course, Monaco does not always throw up the most exciting races, but I still feel as though that one had a decent level of intrigue.
Yeah, I think it did. That strategy battle and a few battles a little bit further down the field certainly did give us a little bit of action to look over to. But the question on everybody's lips heading into this mid-season break, who can come close, who can stop Luca Rapasa? We'll find out at Azerbaijan in 2 weeks' time. Make sure you tune in with us then. And thank you all very much for watching. This would not be possible without you guys. So thank you all for tuning in. And we'll see you at another street track. We'll see who comes out on top. And can Andre Molnar repeat the feat he just did? We'll see you in the next one. So thank you all very much for watching. And goodbye.